mine. And this is the children's book. And here I sit with the books. This is me in the black stockings. My number is 73,305, which I had to shout twice daily at counting. Zählappell. We had to shout our number. 73.305. The air was full of ash like snow from the smoke from the chimneys. These were the ashes from the crematoria. And we just had to understand that this is what happens there. When the train arrived, there were prisoners who sorted the luggage. They made mountains of clothes, of shoes, of food, of bread, and if they found a book, they somehow managed to bring it to the children's block. There were some 12 or 14 books on the block. So Freddie invented this will be a library and you are in charge. People are being killed in gas chambers, and their bodies are being burned in crematoria. And the ashes that were in the air, they covered the earth there, all the surroundings. We knew that our time will come in June. We had 6 months grace to live, which we knew. We knew we are going to die in June. Everybody knew that. I won't ever go back to Auschwitz. I can't bear it that hundreds and thousands of people go and step there on the ashes. The ashes are all over they are stepping on the dead people.
The words of Dita Kraus, a Holocaust survivor, 91 years old, speaking to DW from Israel. Now, with me in the studio, I have DW's chief political editor, Michaela Kufner, and DW reporter, Shani Rozan. A warm welcome to both of you. Shani, if I may start with you, you yourself are from Israel. How important is this gathering today in Yad Vashem for the country?
Very much, very much. You see, everybody's quite excited, looking forward to it. I mean, for Israelis, this is new to commemorate the Holocaust on January. Usually it's done in April before Independence Day. But the fact that so many world leaders, so many people from all over the world gathered to come and make that statement, I think it's very meaningful for Israelis at this time. Yes, very much.
And Michaela, what about for Germany? As we heard, German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier is the first leader to be making an address at Yad Vashem today.
Absolutely, and it shows the very special relationship that Germany and Israel have, the country whose, many citizens whose population has suffered most of the Holocaust, in particular of the Second World War, and the country that started the Second World War, the perpetrators. This is a message that has been continuous through the relationship between the two countries. After 1945, it took 20 years to actually re-establish or to establish diplomatic relations between the two countries. Then in 2008, German Chancellor Angela Merkel was also the first head of government to speak before the Knesset in Israel. And there she sent a very strong message that has become the DNA of German politics, that Israel's security was a reason of state here in Germany, that Germany feels responsible for the security of the Jewish state. So a very special moment, though, to today see Germany's president speak at this very, very historic moment.
And Shani, Frank-Walter Steinmeier is one of more than 40 heads of government and state attending ceremonies there. Why did so many international leaders decide to come for this particular anniversary?
Well, 75 years, it's an important number. I think it's also brings us at this moment in time. We were talking the rise of anti-Semitism and populism. You know, we see it all across Europe, the US, all modern countries. Everybody is suffering from that. I think the need to make that bold statement was quite remarkable for so many people to feel that need as well, to stand behind it, understanding we need to put some strong foot down and say we are not accepting. You know, we see the deterioration in discourse and in dialogue. We see how hatred is rising its head all over the world, and we want to put a stop to it right now.
And Michaela, Germany takes a lot of historical responsibility for what happened during the Nazi regime, particularly the Holocaust. Tell us more about how it expresses this.
Well, there is no German leader who will not refer to this very special responsibility that Germany has historically. Also, when there's accusations of anti-Semitism, this is taken always very seriously, particularly also in German institutions. At the same time, we're seeing more indications that this historical experience has not made German society immune to anti-Semitism and racism, and that's also why we've already heard from Israel's President Rivlin. Thank you. I was going to say Rivlin there. Rivlin, who wants world leaders at this day to take a stance against racism, extremism, and anti-Semitism, who demands this kind of historic responsibility from mankind, one could say, to keep a watch out that this should indeed never happen again.
If I may add, we are also at a time that we see, you know, Holocaust survivors are diminishing. We have fewer and fewer of them alive. So now it's about setting the scene of how do we remember, how do we deal with Holocaust remembrance for the next decades. And I think this is somewhat of a junction, an important point in history where we need to determine, okay, since we're losing the witnesses, we are losing the people who were there and can tell us what happened, we need to maybe agree on the rules of how we discuss this, how we remember this, what's the narrative, the joint narrative that us, the world, and perpetrators and victims alike can share and wanna send out there to the world.